One of the biggest that people make is overconfidence, particularly with investing early on. The idea that your views are the right views and that you know where the world is going next. It's a very appealing view. It's a comforting view to look in the mirror and say, I understand how the world works. I understand where the world is going. I think the more investing experience you have, the older you get, the less confident you get in those views. And when you have a lot of experience and when you've been investing for 20 or 30 years, you might get to a point where you say, I don't have any idea what's going to happen next. And I don't think anybody does. And that's okay. That doesn't mean you've given up. It just it means you become much more tolerant and comfortable with volatility. And when you think you know how the world is working and what's going to happen next, you are very surprised when there's volatility, when there's a recession or a pandemic or something happening in politics. You didn't see it coming, and all of a sudden you're like, where did this come from? I didn't expect this to happen. But when you admit that you have no idea, then nothing really surprises you. And it's much easier to deal with that volatility down the road. I think there's a lot of alternative measures of wealth. And to me, like when I talk about money and investing, I'm talking about actual money. But what I actually want to do is use that money to give myself and my family the best life that we can. And so, yes, it's about accumulating money and wealth, financial wealth. But really what I actually want to do is have independence so that I can spend my time doing what I want to do, hanging out with my kids, doing fun things with them. And so to me, personally, it's different for everybody, but the idea of having a lot of money, but not having a family, not having friends, not having health. I mean, which would you rather have? You can have $100 million, but no family, no friends, poor health, bad mental health, bad physical health, or $100,000, much less money, but great relationships, great friends, great health. It's so obvious when you frame it like that. And so if you can use money as a tool to leverage those things that actually make you happy, that I think is real wealth. I think by definition, the biggest risks are what we don't see coming. And by definition, nobody knows what that's going to be. And so if you and I were sitting here in 2019, nobody, not you, not me, not you, not anyone in the audience right now would say the biggest risk is going to be a global pandemic that's going to shut everything. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody could have seen that. And I think that is true for the next 5 years. That the biggest risk over the next 5 years is something that you and I can't even fathom right now. And so the solution from that is not trying to predict what it might be. It's just becoming more comfortable with volatility, psychologically and financially. Like a level of financial savings and an avoidance of debt, that means that you can actually tolerate that volatility, and the psychology of not being too confident, having the appropriate time horizon and mindset that when those surprises do come, you can endure them psychologically as well. The principles absolutely do apply. And what's interesting, I completely understand what you're saying, but it's true that if you went to America right now, most Americans would say it's impossible to save there as well. And what's true is that in my mind, the goal of saving money is independence. And independence exists on a spectrum. It's not black or white. And so every single tiny bit of money that you save, every dollar that you save is a little piece of your future that you own. And the flip side is that is every dollar of debt that you have is a bit of your future that somebody else owns. And so when you think about even just very small amounts of savings is buying a piece of your future, it's owning a piece of your future, then it's not, I understand why people would not want to save if it was like, why bother? Because I can only save this teeny tiny amount. It's not going to make any difference. And I think for a lot of people's view, it's either like you're either completely financially independent or you might as well live paycheck to paycheck. And I've always viewed like any tiny bit of savings that you have, $10, $50, $100, whatever it might be, is a little chunk of your future that you own that you didn't before. And I think when you think about it in those terms, it becomes a little bit more easy, manageable to think about these goals with as much or as little as you possibly can. And I remember when I was first working when I was a teenager, $1, $5 put away like that, it was meaningful to me. We're so fortunate to live in an era where you can invest with a very small amount of money, because it was not that long ago. Our parents' generation was you had to be rich. You had to actually be rich to invest in the stock market. And so I think we're very fortunate now that for a very small amount of money, you can actually participate. It's very difficult to say that taking a sports betting risk is a smart thing to do financially. It might be entertaining. You might enjoy it. So in moderation, it might be fine. But a lot of people don't do it in moderation. They're doing it to try to make money. And I think that is a very foolish thing to do on that. We have the exact same situation in the United States where sports betting was largely legalized a couple of years ago, and it's exploding higher. It's massive, massive, very similar to Brazil. And the statistics that come out of young people who are in financial hardship and bankruptcy and seeking therapy and counseling, it's exploding right now. The more appealing it looks, the worse it's going to be over time. I mean, similar for food. Like the better it tastes, the worse it is for you. It's generally true. And it's generally true with investing as well. So when I say you should be diversified, low cost, invest for the long term, that's like the broccoli of financial advice. Like it's not very fun, but that's why it works. And sports betting and crypto is candy. I get why it's appealing. It tastes delicious. And it's a lot of fun. It's great. But there's usually a very high correlation between how exciting it looks and how it's going to do for you. I think it's very similar. It's not that it's not an appropriate investment, but a lot of people don't treat it like it is one. I don't own any crypto, but I'm not against it. I'm not the kind of person who says it's all a joke. But it would not surprise me if in 5 or 10 or 20 years, Bitcoin is much higher than it is today. That wouldn't surprise me. It's not a forecast. But even if that's true, a lot of people treat it like it's just something to trade in and out, in and out, in and out. So even when an asset, this is true for any stocks or bonds or crypto, even when the asset itself can be a very appropriate investment, a lot of times the way it's treated is going to do a lot of financial harm. And there aren't many crypto investors who are just going to buy and hold for the long term. The reason it's exciting is because there's so much trading in and out, in and out, in and out. And I think the culture of that, this has been true for 100 years, whether it's stocks 100 years ago or crypto today. The more turnover there is, the more buying and selling it is, the worse the average participant is going to do. And I think it's very accentuated with crypto. I mean, that's true for my generation when we were teenagers, that we were day trading tech stocks. And so the asset class changed, but that behavior really doesn't. It's always the knee-jerk reaction to young, new investors, even when they're very smart, is you want to make money as fast as you can. And the appeal is I should do that by trading as fast as I want to build it as fast as I can. That's always the knee-jerk reaction. But it's usually always the case that in hindsight, the people who do the best are the ones that just are patient and buy and hold and leave it alone for 10 or 20 years. Over the course of 10 or 20 years, those are the people who are going to do the best. So everybody today compares themselves to a much larger group than they used to because of social media. And so it's easier than ever today to feel like you are not doing well financially because on Instagram and on TikTok, everybody looks like they're doing better. Everybody looks prettier. Everybody looks happier. Everybody looks richer. Everybody looks more successful. By and large, not true. By and large, what you are actually looking at is like the curated highlight reel of what is going to give you the most anxiety. And so I think 30 years ago, most people could look around their town, their little village, and say, I'm doing pretty well compared to her and him, and I'm doing fine. And today you look at your phone and you're like, even if you are doing very well, you're like, well, they're doing a lot better than I am. And so it makes it easier than ever to feel like you're falling behind, even if statistically you're not.